that good stuff. Let's make sure. All right. Give me just 1 second. 1 second. Yeesh. 1 sec over here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, all right, all right. Let's make sure. There we go. All right. All right. There we go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. We are live. All right. There we go. All right. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Legal says good morning. Good morning, Legal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you're having a wonderful day. All right. Getting everything set up, ladies and gentlemen. Yeesh. All right. Just getting all the announcements out. Now we do. Yes, sir. All right. All right, all right, all right. All right. There we go. Get that all set up, ready to go there. All right. This over here. Okay, there we are. Let me see here. All right. That's all set up over there. Boom, right there. Make sure we live. Yes, we are. Good, good, good. All right. Let me make sure we are live on the Twitch. Yes, we are. Perfect. Everything looks good there. All right. All right, all right, all right. All right. All right, let's get this set up over here. And we should be good. All right. All set there. All right. Get that set. Boom, right there. Right there. And bop right there. All right. All right, we're all set and ready to go. Ready, DBL Moms?
Ready.
All right. What's up, guys? It's Double Nicks, and welcome to another episode of Microcap Mornings. I am your host with the most. They call me DBL Nicks in the house, a.k.a. the Rainmaker. And I am here with the lovely Serengeti specialist herself. She likes to hang around in the tall weeds, the high trees, the low seas, hitting them high knees. Sometimes she likes 2 cups of coffee. Other times she likes to jet ski. Sometimes she likes to regular ski. Sometimes you shoot her out the cannon and she goes wee. Other times she likes to chill at Arby's and watch videos of puppies and kitties. Sometimes we throw her in the stock market. She will always come back with them ABCDs. And then she did call quite a few stonks like BTOC, DRIO, LUXE, and PEPG. And of course, you know, she's yeah, she always likes to steal my lo mein. We call her DBL Moms.
Hey!
Come on, you gotta admit that was good. Those all rhyme. They rhymed. All right. Yeah, hey, they rhyme though. All right, hey, can't hate on that now. All right, so that's what we got going on, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got going on. So before we begin, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, ladies and gentlemen. Sharing is caring. And of course, if you want access to our private Discord to get a free 4-day, a 4-day trial for only $9.99, link to join us in the description down below. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different, folks, and the early bird gets the cash. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we called quite a few stunks today. We did. All right. We called quite a few stunks. We called PEPG this morning. We actually did a video on it last night on our YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on that, by the way. But we did a video on that on our YouTube. We called it prior to making that video. We called it for our private Discord. Then we made a video on it last night. And today it ran up a nice 180%. 180%. There we go. So you got that going on right there. Right, we called BTOC for our private Discord as well. That ran up a nice 113%. 113%. All right. Then we also managed to call a couple of runners. We called DRIO. That one ran for our pre-market Discord. Actually, not pre-market Discord. For our private Discord, excuse me. That ran up 75%. 75% right there. Yep. We called LUXE, all right, which ran up a nice 64%. 64%. All right. We called another stunk as well. We called SPRC. And by the way, let's get a share party going. Yes, we called SPRC, ladies and gentlemen. That ran up a nice 68%. 68%. Yes, 68%. That one ran up nicely. We called EVAX, EVAX, and that ran up a nice 57%. 57%. There we go. All right. We called OFAL, which we actually did a video on. OFAL. Did a video on that one today, this morning. And that ran up a nice 49%. 49%. Yes. And then we called another stunk. We called XXII. XXII. That one ran up a nice 40%. Ran up a nice 40% right there. Boom, right there. Boom. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 100 people. Let's get to 100. Come on now. And, of course, we called for our private Discord, HTOO, which ran up a nice 42%. Cam asked, where did you call these? We called these for our private Discord. Link to join is in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out, because we pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We call them prior to them running normally. So, yep, as I said before, we called PEPG prior to our video last night. We called PEPG on our our private Discord. Then we made a video on it last night, and it ran up a nice 180%. BTOC called that on our private Discord as well, 113%. DRIO, 75%. LUXE, 64%. SPRC, 68%. EVAX, 57%. Did a video. We called this on our private Discord as well. All these were private Discord. And then we did a video on this one, OFAL. That one ran up 49%, XXII 40%, and HTOO 42%. So that's what we got going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got going on right there. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah. All right. So let's get a share party going. Let's get to 200 people. 200 people. Let's get to 200. All right. And let's get ready to go. Let's get ready. All right. So, first things first. Let's take a look over here. Let's look at PEPG. PEPG now no longer, it's now up 150%. right? But it did have a bit of some movement going on over here. Bop, right there. Had a slight A to B, B to C, C to D, right there. Right, another smaller one over here, another smaller one over there. Right, and then it started going down a little bit more right over here. Bop, and then formed a bit of a pennant, and then proceeded to curl its way on up just a little bit right there. All right, and then bop, bop, right there. Made another pennant. Proceeded to kind of go down and create a bit of a cup and handle. A little bit of a cup and handle going on right there. So it had a cup, bop, bop, and then handle right there. Right over here. All right. And then proceeded to curl up off that. And it stayed above the VWAP the whole time. Stayed above the VWAP. Well, actually fell below the VWAP at this little point right here. It was a bit overbought on the RSI. A little bit overbought on the RSI. But it was basically one of those stonks where it stayed above the VWAP the whole time. Was a bit overbought on the RSI around this part right over here when it was doing the ABCDs. Formed a double top, excuse me, not a double top, a descending wedge over here. Created a cup and handle, very long handle, but it did create a cup and handle, and then proceeded to shoot up off that cup and handle. Created another descending wedge, and now it's curling itself back up, and all bouncing off of VWAP. So you got that going on right there. Let's get a support and resistance line set over here. All right, because it looks like it is trying to break through the, it's breaking off the descending wedge over here. So PEPG trying to curl off the descending wedge right there. Curling off the descending wedge, ladies and gentlemen. So we got that going on right there. That's what we got going on. Bop, right there. All right. Curling off that descending wedge, but it needs to stay friends with the trend. It needs to bounce off that VWAP. It is currently above the VWAP, so the VWAP acts as sort of a support line for it. If it can't stay above the VWAP, it's But right now, the VWAP is at 626. The stock is at 636, so we'll see what happens. Can it bounce off that VWAP? Can it stay above the VWAP? Really needs to stay above that VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 300 people, all right? And let's continue, all right. Let's take a look at SPRC. All right, SPRC. Let's zoom in the room over here. Now, SPRC had a bit of a double top going on over here. A little bit of a double top bop right there. All right. And proceeded to basically have a little bit of a pennant going on over here. So you had shot up and then proceeded to make a pennant right here. Had some curlage off the pennant. Little bit of curlage. And then it created kind of its own little pennant right here. So it had curl, pennant. That was it. Little baby pennant over here. Shot off the pennant, then made its own little pennant off of that. It is currently below the VWAP, a little bit below the VWAP. Was a bit overbought in the RSI around this point in time, right over here. So it was a bit overbought on the RSI. Created that double top, shot all the way back down, fell below the VWAP, and then created another pennant. So it has to curl off the pennant and break through that VWAP for it to be so much schmexy to me. SPRC needs to break the pennant and VWAP. Yeesh. For it to be so much schmexy to me. All right. Let's take a look at WOK. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 300. Let's get to 300. Let's get to 300 right here. All right. Let's get rid of this right here. Bop, right there. We don't need that. All right. So let's get some support and resistance lines over here. All right. Bop right here. And bop right there. Okay. So you got support at 11 cents, 13 cents. All right. Hang on one second. 14 cents. 14 cents is the main support line right now. Has to break through 15 cents, which is the current resistance. 16, 17, and then 19 cents all the way up there. Has to break through those. So right now has to hold above the 14-cent mark, needs to break through 15 cents, also needs to break through the VWAP, which is at 16 cents. It is below the VWAP right now, WOK, but it did have some movement here. So let me get the graffiti pencil activated. Let's get the graffiti pencil activated right here, and let's get that share party going. Let's get the 400 people. All right, had a bit of an A, B, C, D. Dropped its way back down, made itself a nice little descending wedge, even had a double bottom at this point right over here. If you take a look at the 15-cent mark, had a double bottom going on right there, curled off that descending wedge just a little bit, bop right there. All right. All right, and then proceeded to make this very, very massive descending wedge over here that hasn't always been loyal to the wedge, but we're trying there. All right, let's see, and then it curled up off of the descending wedge. So can it potentially curl some more? Maybe. It was leaning towards being a bit oversold over here. Was overbought on the RSI over here. Was a bit oversold or leaning towards being oversold around this point in time when it hit its lowest point. So now it's trying to curl its way on up, break through that 14-cent resistance line that it had. Now it's currently the support, so it has to hold above 14-cent support, break through 15 cents, then 16 cents, which is the VWAP end of the resistance line right there, break through 17 cents, and then 19 cents for it to really be so much Mexi to Mia. But that's what we got going on for the stunk. That's what we got going on. Has to remain friends with the trend and break through that VWAP. So WOK needs to remain friends with the trend and break that VWAP. So you got that going on right there. Bop, right there. There we go. So WOK trying to keep its curl off that descending wedge. Let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens. But right now, let's take a look at some other stonks. What other stonks do we got here? What other stonks we got? What else we got? What else we got? Let's get a share party going. Let's get the 400 people. Let's get the 400 people. All right. Yeesh. All right. Let's get that set up over there. Bop. Bop right there. All right. Somebody asked for CIFR. CIFR. Okay, let's take a look at CIFR. All right. CIFR. Ooh, all right. So, CIFR did have a slight uptrend over here. Right over Mia. Boom, right here. Bop, right there. But then kind of just started going down its own way. Right over here. Formed a bit of a pennant over here. Not looking too schmexy. It is falling below the VWAP right here. Below the VWAP. Needs to break this pennant for it to be so much schmexy to me. Needs to break the pennant. Needs to break the VWAP. Hello, parabolic. All right. Anyways. So, CIFR needs to break the pennant and the VWAP for it to be so much Mexi to Mia. Needs to break this pennant and break this VWAP because it is on a bit of a downtrend over here. It is on a bit of a downtrend, so it needs to curl. It was a bit overbought in the RSI over here. Looks like it was leaning towards being a bit oversold, so can it potentially bounce up? Maybe. We'll have to see. So let's get this support. Let's get this over here. Bop right there. All right, so CIFR needs to basically break through that VWAP, needs to break through that pennant for it to be so much Mexi to Mia. All right, now, what else we got? All right. All right, so there we go right there. All right, let's get a share party going. Let's get to 500 people. 500. Let's get to 500, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 500. All right. All right. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay. So, SGBX, that's the next one right there for us to look at. Let's take a look at SGBX. SGBX. All right. SGBX currently formed, had a price spike over here, and then kind of formed a slight double top. Nothing, not exactly a full-blown double top, but it's pretty much like a double top. All right. Had a bit of a double top going on there. Had a price spike and now is breaking its way down. So has to break its way on. It needs to basically break this little pennant that it made for itself right over here. It made basically a little pennant for itself. Now it's That's what you got going on right now. It needs to basically break through that for it to be so much Mexi to Mia. But right now, Had a pop and then a drop. So, not feeling that one, ladies and gentlemen. Not feeling that one. SGBX, price spike needs to break the pennant. And if you look at SGBX, it is moving on well, the float is actually 461,000. Volume is 1 million. So the float is extremely low, which means it's going to be potentially extremely volatile. Going up and then down, it's going to be a very volatile stock because the float is so low, but the volume is higher than the float, so it has a potential to potentially curl, but we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 700. Let's get to 700, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 700. All right, let's see what we got going on. EVAX, EVAX, EVAX. All right, so let's take a look over here. All right. Shot up over here, bop. Formed a descending wedge right over here. Needs to break through that VWAP. It is currently below the VWAP, so it needs to break through that right there. Bop. Was a bit overbought on the RSI, especially during this uptrend over here. Became a bit overbought on the RSI. Collapsed all the way back down to comply with the RSI. That's what you got going on. Ooh, I like that little line there. Comply with the RSI. Ooh, I like that. All right. So, get it because it rhymes. It rhymes. Comply with the RSI. Yeah. All right. So, you got that going on right there. Has a VWAP at 477. The VWAP is at 477. So, let's get ourselves all set up over here. Bop right there. And bop right there. Okay, so currently at this stage of the game right here, you got 307, 364, 409. Those are all support lines for the stock. All right. And then you got the resistance lines at 441, 472, 511, and 574. All of which are basically the lines that you got going on over there. Had a bit of a double top as well, if you noticed. A little bit of a double top, bop, right over there. All right, so you got that going on right there. Had a double top going on right there, and then proceeded to bring its way on down. Needs to hold above that 409 mark. Needs to break through 441 for it to be so much mexi to mia. But it looks like it's trying to test that resistance line. It looks like it's trying to test that resistance line and break through that descending wedge. So we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens with the Stonk EVAX trying to break the descending wedge and test the resistance right there. So you got that going on there. That's what we got going on. That's what we got going on. Let's see what we got going on over here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to 800. Let's share it up. Let's share it up. Get ourselves to 800. Let's get to 800, ladies and gentlemen. ATCH, ATCH. Let's see what that's got going on right there. All right, a little bit of choppiness going on there. Below the VWAP right now. Had a bit of a downtrend going on here. Looks like it's trying to potentially curl, but has a top tail. We don't like the top tails, DBL moms. We like the bottom tails. We like the bottom tail. So ATCH, let's see what we got going on over here. Bop right here. All right, boom. All right. Had a bit of a pennant form right over here. Bop right there. Curled off that pennant just a little bit. Right over Mia. Boom. All right. Had a pennant over here. Tried to curl its way on up. Tried to curl its way on up over here. Actually, and that's not really the best pattern for it. I mean, technically, if you really wanted to say it, you could say it was an A to B, B to C, C to D, but it was like a very, very sideways one. I don't really like that one too much either for this one, but had a bit of a pennant going on over here. Broke the pennant and proceeded to break upward, but then formed a descending wedge. It needs to break that downtrend. Looks like it's trying to break that downtrend right now. Has a bit of a double bottom going on over here. A little bit of a double bottom, so we'll see what happens with this stonk right here. So, I mean, that's pretty much what's going on here. Let's get ourselves set up over here. Bop. And bop right there. So you got that going on right there. Basically, 61 cents, 69 cents, and 75 cents, all of which are support lines for the stock. 79 cents, 83 cents, 88 cents, and 97 cents. Those are all resistance lines for the stock. So we got that going on right there. That's what we got going on right there. The VWAP is at 85 cents. Needs to curl, break through this descending wedge to really break through the VWAP. So it needs some serious volume, needs some volumation, ATCH has a float of 15 million, volume of 43 million. So you would think, it's got the volume for it, but not really. That doesn't have that going on right now. Oh, let me see what's going on there. Let me see. Let me see. Huh. Could be. Give me a sec here. Let me double check real quick. Let me double check, make sure everything looks copacetic. All right. Huh. Doesn't look blurry over here. All right. All right. Yeah, let me just double check on everything, make sure. All right. Looks fine over here. I mean, maybe it could be slightly blurry, maybe. I mean, no. I could might be. Oh, let me make sure that. Yesh. All right. Yeah. We ready to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1,000 people. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. Let's go for a nice 1,000. Yesh. Let me check and see. Let me just double check on Twitch. Right. Let me make sure. All right. Yeah. No, we're good. 1,000. All right. Let's get to 1,000. Yes. 1,000. All right. So. Yeesh. So, it has double bottom occurring right over here. So, could it potentially curl? Maybe we'll see what happens. ATCH needs to break the descending wedge right here and break through the VWAPA. Yesh, the VWAPA. The VWAPA. Yesh. Yesh. Wepa. Yesh. All right. Extreme wepas. Yes. All right. So ATCH got that going on right there. Let's take a look at another stunk right here. Someone said CAPR. CAPR. Let's take a look at CAPR. What we got going on right there? Hold on. It's loading.
Please hold.
Stand by. Right there. All right. CAPR. All right. So CAPR. Little choppy. Little bit of choppiness going on. Little bit. The old chopperoon. There we go. Let's get the support and resistance lines over here. So we got $6.08 right here, $6.23, $6.36, $6.44, and $6.53. These are all support lines for the stock right here. And then after that, you got $6.63 and $6.80. Those are all resistance lines for the stock. So it has to hold above the $6.53 mark, has to break through $6.63 and $6.80 for it to be so much Mexi Tumya. Looks like it fell below $6.53 a little bit. It is now $6.52. So let's see what we got going on here. It doesn't look like it has much in the volume department. We'll have to see what goes on here, but it did have a nice little slight uptrend going on over here, so I will give it that right there. Bop right there. Boom. All right. But it looks like it's no longer really friends with the trend, so it has to break through this little descending wedge right over Mya. All right. Has to break through that descending wedge right over Mya. So, yeesh. Let's get a share party going. Yes, let's get over 1,100. Let's get to 1,100 right there. Let's get to 1,100. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Yes. Let's get past 1,100, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 1,100. Yes, sir. All right. So right now, CAPR is kind of fighting its way above that sort of resistance line over there at 653. Has some resistance at 653, has to break through 663, and then after that 680 for it to be so much Mexi to Mya. Yes, sir. So we got that going on right there. That's what we got going on. Let's go. Let's see what else we got over. Meow. All right. Hold on 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just get some water real quick. Let's get that share party going. Let's get to 1100. I'll be right back. Let me get a drink real quick. All right. So we got that going on right there. That's what we got going on. Bop has a bit of a pennant. That's a little bit of a pennant leaning towards the descending wedge. So you got that going on right there. All right. So, yeesh. Right there, CAPR. CAPR needs to break that pennant for it to be so much maxi tumya. And it is above the VWAP, though. I will give it that. CAPR. CAPR needs to break the pennant. Bop right there. So you got that going on right there. CAPR needs to break that pennant for it to be so much maxi tumya. All right, let's see what else we got. What else we got? All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's go back to PEPG. PEPG. All right. PEPG still moving its way on downwards. Broke below the VWAP right there. Not looking too schmexy. Not looking too schmexy. Needs to break the descending wedge over here for it to be so much schmexy to me. But right now, it broke below the VWAP. Not feeling it. Not feeling the stonk. Needs to break that descending wedge. Man. So you got that going on. Needs to break the descending wedge. All right. Needs to break that for it to be so much maxi tumya. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1100. Let's get to 1100, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 1100. Let's see what we got going on here. What else we got? What else we got? LUXE. LUXE. Let's see. All right. Let's see with LUXE. All right, over here. Boom. Let's get the support line. Let's get the paths over here. Boom. Has a bit of a pennant forming over here. Bit of a pennant bop right there. So you got that going on. It is below the VWAP right now. It needs to break that VWAP and needs to break that pennant for it to be so much schmexy to mya. LUXE right there. LUXE needs to break the pennant and the VWAP to become so much schmexy to mya. Yeesh. All right, let's get some support and resistance lines over here. Support and resistance right there. All right, bop going on right there. Let's get support and resistance lines going. Bop. So we got support at 814, 953. It's got support at 953. That's what they got going on right there. Has resistance at 1062, 1139, 1236, 1176 actually, and then 1216. 1311 and then 1464. So you got that going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you got going on. Needs to break above that support line at 953 and needs to break past that 1062 mark. So you got that going on right there. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1200. 1200. Let's get to 1200, ladies and gentlemen. Yeesh. Let's get to 1200, ladies and gents. That's what we got going on right there. LUXE. LUXE needs to break that pennant. Yeesh. Can it curl? LUXE, we shall see. LUXE, can it curl past the pennant? That's what we got going on. Bot right there. All right.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe. At Coach Big Money. Yeesh. Ooh, let me make sure that the news is over here. Wow, right there. Gosh. Yeah, so we got that going on right there. And ladies and gentlemen, yeah, be sure to check out our YouTube channel at Coaching Money, where we do lots of live streaming and videos and other cool stuff. Stonk reviews. Did a video last night on PEPG and another one on OFAL, so check that out. And also be sure to check out our 4-day trial for our real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Pick that up. You could actually get access to this beautiful chart for as long as you guys want by checking out the real-time alerts and scanners, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, be sure to get that. Click the link down below to get a 4-day trial for that. And then after that, once that 4-day trial is over, you guys can have it for as long as you need. Yes, sir. All right, and this beautiful news over here with these beautiful articles with hyperlinks in them that basically give you access to the tickers that are basically connected to the news. So you got that going on right there. You click on it, bop, right there, and then all of a sudden, you got all sorts of intel on the ticker that you are looking at for the stonk. All right, so you got that going on right there. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. What other stonks we got over here? All right, we got LAC. LAC. Let's see what LAC is about. All right, LAC. All right, so LAC currently had a bit of a double top going on right over Mya. Bop, right there. Boom. All right. And also had a bit of a double bottom, little bit of a slight double bottom right over Mya. But it did also have a couple of other double tops right here. So it had a double top bop right there. Had another one right over there. Another one over there. So you got that going on right there. And it is currently below the view up and it is moving downward a bit. So let's actually get a look at the movements over here. So it did have some movement up from here, right? Created a bit of an A to B, B to C, C to D right here. Had a massive downtrend over here, creating a massive descending wedge, and then proceeded to somewhat curl, and then basically form another wedge right over here before basically moving up a little bit and then creating another descending wedge right over Mya. So it's got that going on right there. It's got that going on right there. Bop and bop. So you got that going on. Bop. There we go. LAC needs to break that descending wedge for it to really be so much maxi to me. It has also got to break that VWAP. So LAC needs to break the descending wedge and the VWAP for it to be so much maxi to Mya. Yeesh. So we got to get that going right there. That's what we got to go. That's what we're doing right there. We're taking a look at LAC. Needs to break through that descending wedge and break through that VWAP for it to be so much maxi to Mya. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? All right. Let's take a look at XXII. XXII. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any stonks you want us to look at, be sure to put it in the chat. There we go. Put it in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Put it in the chat for us. And ladies and gents, also, let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1,400. 1,400. XXII a little bit oversold on the RSI as of current, was a bit overbought, but now currently is a bit oversold. So you got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. Not feeling that one right there. So let's get some support and resistance lines going right here. Let's get some support and resistance lines. Bop right there. Let's get rid of this. Boom. All right. Let's get some support and resistance lines. Support. Bop right there. All right. And it goes all the way bop up to there. Okay. So you got support at 150, 168. That's all the support you got going on right there. The support line is at 168. Resistance is at 183, 193, 203, 215, and 235. VWAP is at 201. So you got that going on right there. This stock is currently well below the VWAP. Needs to really curl for it to break through the VWAP. So it needs some serious curlage to really break the descent. It has to break the downtrend, really. Has to break that downtrend for it to be so much maxi to Mya. So let's see here. XXII needs to break the down trend and then the VWAP for it to be so much maxi to Mya. Bop right there. That's what we got going on. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? LUXE, LUXE. All right. Let's take a look at LUXE. Still needs to break that pennant right there. Looks like it's trying to curl off the pennant a little bit, but it still needs some serious volume for it to be so much maxi to Mya. LUXE trying to break the pennant. Can it curl? Can it curl, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see. We shall see if it should curl. We shall see. We shall see. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1,600. 1,600, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 1,600. All right. There we go. All right, right? Right, DBL Moms?
Yeah, right.
Yeesh. So you got that going on right there. Let's take a look at EVAX, EVAX, EVAX. Looks like it tried to curl a little bit. Looks like it's trying to curl just a bit. Needs to stay friends with the trend over here for it to be so much Maxi Tumya. Needs to stay friends with the trend. So EVAX trying to curl off that descending wedge right there. EVAX trying to curl off the descending wedge and trying to curl off that descending wedge. Needs to break the VWAP. Yeesh. For it to be so much Maxi Tumya. FSFG looks like it's moving up on some low volume. FSFG. Let's see what it's got going on. Very, 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 very choppy. Not a lot of goodness going on over there. Not even a candle properly. Yeah, I see little worms. That's all I see. FSFG. Moving up on low volume. Moving up on very low volume. On very low volume. All right. Not a lot to say there. Just needs some serious volume because that is man. Not feeling it, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely not feeling that one. We'll take a look at ATCH. ATCH, something with actual candles on it. All right. That would be nice, right? ATCH curling towards the VWAP right now off that descending wedge. Can it curl? Let's see. ATCH curling. ATCH is curling. ATCH curling off the descending wedge towards the VWAP. Yeesh. So you got that going on. Yeesh. All right. So ATCH got that going on right there. OFAL. How's that doing right there? OFAL still needs to break that downtrend. Still really needs to break that downtrend for it to be so much Maxi Tumya. But right now, it is currently on a massive downtrend right over Mya. Let's get some support and resistance lines going on. Let's get some support and resistance lines because it did have a shot upward. Was a bit overbought on the RSI. Now it's just oversold on the RSI at certain points. It moves up a little bit, but then it becomes oversold again, and now it's moving up a little bit. Let's hope it doesn't become oversold again. Really needs to break that downtrend. So let's get some support and resistance lines over here. Let's get some support and resistance lines. Bop right here. And right there. That's what we need to be. It needs to be over here. Bop right there. So we got this going on right over here. Boom. All right. 127 is a support line. 153 is the support line for the stock currently. Needs to break past this descending wedge, this downward trajectory over here, this downward trend. Needs to break through the downtrend. Needs to break 173, then 187, then 201, 219, and 247. Has to also break the VWAP at 188 for it to really be so much Maxi Tumya. So needs to break that downward trend for it to be so much Maxi Tumya. So let's take a look over here. OFAL needs to break the down trend. What else you got over here? All right. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? Let's see here. Let's see. CIFR. Let me see what's going. Actually, no. OPEN. Let's see how OPEN is doing. OPEN. That's not OPEN. Give me OPEN. Give me OPEN. Hello. There we go. There we go. All right. OPEN still below the VWAP over Mya. Needs to break that VWAP. OPEN needs to break the VWAP for it to be so much Maxi Tumya. But right now, needs to break that VWAP OPEN. A lot of people have been requesting OPEN. So yeah, we're going to see what we got going on over here. Bop. Support at 705, 751, 787, 812. Those are the current support lines for the stock. Has to hold above 837, break through 869, and then 919 for it to be so much Maxi Tumya. OPEN needs to curl and break that VWAP. So we got that going on. OPEN needs to curl and break that VWAP for it to be so much Maxi Tumya. So you got that going on right there. That's what we need from this stonk. Was a bit overbought on the RSI, then became a bit oversold in the RSI. So you got that going on. It's trying to curl up a little bit to compensate for that. So we shall see. We shall see. All right. Let's see what else we got. Let's get a share party going. Ooh, SPRC. Let's see what SPRC is doing. All right, SPRC. Oh my, yes it is. It broke through the VWAP. It did break through the VWAP there, so it is curling. Curl. Nice little curl. Curling upward off the pennant. Let me actually move the pennant over here a little bit. Bop, right there. Curling off that pennant. Let's see what we got going on. What we got? All right. Come on now. All right. Seems like everything is back to normal. Let me check. Let me double check everything. Make sure we're all set to go. All right. 1 second. 1 second. Hold on. Give it a sec to propagate. That's what we're going to do. All right. Looks like it's fine on the YouTubes. The UBTubes. All right. Let's make sure it's fine on X. Yes, we are. We're good on X. Let's make sure we're good on Twitch. Yes, we are. Okay, good. The stream's back up, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. Yeesh. All right, so we got all that set up right there. SPRC currently curling off the little... Hello, Parabolic! Hello! Yes. All right. SPRC still pushing its way on up, ladies and gentlemen. So we got that going on right there.
Let's go.
Yeesh.
Wake up, SPRC.
SPRC. Yeah, it's like you know that song that goes, wake up. Da, 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 da. Okay, you know what I mean? You know that song? That was healing. I can't say that word on stream. Something healing. Da, da, da. Healing. Da, da. Yeah, I said yeah. That's what made me think of. All right, curling its way on up there. All right, trying to do that. It has to remain friends with the trend. SPRC needs to remain friends with the trend. Come on. All right, broke the pennant and is curling upward. Because apparently there's a lot of people who are liking CAPR. A lot of people. Apparently it's a very popular one. So you know what? There you go. CAPR curling upward. Has to stay friends with the trend for it to be so much Mexi Tumia. Let's take a look over here. Let's see what we got with XXII. XXII, how's it doing? Is it still on that downtrend? It's trying to curl. Maybe a little bit. It's trying to curl a little bit. Trying to curl somewhat. Right? A little bit of a choppy uptrend over here. A little bit of a choppy one. We'll have to see where it goes from there. But it is still very far below the VWAP. Needs to really get some curlage and some volume in there. Needs some serious vitamin V for it to be so much Mexi to me. All right. XXII needs volume. Trying to curl. So we got that going on right there. XXII trying to curl, needs volume, needs some volumation for it to be so much Mexi Tumia. All right, let's get a share party going. STFS. Let's see what that's doing right now. STFS is testing the VWAP, right now. STFS, let's see what we got going on here. STFS testing the VWAP. Yesh. So we got that going on right there. That's what we got going on. All right. So STFS doing its thing right there. Oop, hang on 1 second. Make sure. Let's see what happens there, ladies and gentlemen.
We shall see. We shall see. But right now, let's take a look at this stunk right here. All right, let's get some support and resistance lines. Support and resistance lines. Let's get some of those. Let's get a share party as well. Let's get to 2300. 2300. Come on now. All right. So let's see what we got going on here. All right. STFS currently trying to test that VWAP right now. Testing that VWAP. Had a nice movement earlier today. Nope, not that. Let's get that right there. A to B, B to C, C to D. All right. Then had a descending wedge over Mya. Then created a pennant right over Mya. And then curled off that pennant and is now testing the VWAP. So that's what you got going on with STFS. Curled off a VWAP and is now testing the pennant. Let me make sure that everything is copacetic here with the stream. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 2400. Yes, sir. All right. Everything's working. Everything's working. Okay, so we got that going on right there. Okay. So STFS just broke through the VWAP. Just broke through the VWAP just now. So we got that going on. STFS broke the VWAP. Broke the VWAP off the pennant. Curling. Yeesh. All right. Bop right there. So you got that going on right there. Boom. Okay. What else we got? What else we got? What else we got? Let's get this share party going. Let's get to 2400. 2400. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So what else we got? Let's see here. Let's check out PEPG again. We're going to see how PEPG is doing. PEPG. PEPG. Still on that downtrend over there. Still on that descending wedge. Needs to really break through. PEPG needs volume to curl. Needs some volume for curlage. PEPG needs volume to curl. So you got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. All right, WOK. Let's take a look at WOK. Oh my, still on that uptrend. Still on an uptrend over here, ladies and gentlemen. Still on an uptrend. Is trying to test that VWAP. It looks like it's trying to test that VWAP a little bit. WOK. WOK on an uptrend. Looks like it is trying to test the VWAP. Yeesh. So we got that going on right there. WOK looks like it's getting ready to try and test that VWAP. We'll see what happens. Has to remain friends with the trend there for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. We shall see what goes on there. We shall see. We shall see. EVAX. Let's see what EVAX is doing right now. EVAX currently had a bit of a move upward and then kind of just started consolidating out of nowhere. So we'll see what goes on there. Need some volumation. Need some volumation for it to somewhat be schmexy to Mya, because it's not really testing anything right now. Not testing the VWAP. It is testing a resistance line. It is testing a resistance line, sort of, but again, needs to hold above that 409 mark, needs to break through 441, and then needs to break through 472, which is where the VWAP is as well, and then needs to break through 511, and then finally 574. So you got that going on right there. So EVAX currently, EVAX, bop right there, needs to break the pennant for it to be so much schmexy to Mya. Needs to break that pennant and consolidation. Yeesh. Hello, Parabolic! Hello! There we go. EVAX got that going on right there. That's what EVAX has got going on. So, you got that going on right there. EVAX. Alright, EVAX has a 5 million float, 42 million volume. So, they got that going on right there. LUXE. Let's see. Alright, LUXE. Still needs to break the pennant, ladies and gentlemen. Still needs to break that pennant. All right. LUXE still needs some time to cook independent, I guess. There you go. Needs some time there. LUXE. Can it curl off that pennant? We shall see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens. All right. Can it curl off that pennant? Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 2,600. 2,600, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 2,600. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Just need to get some water real quick. To be moving up a little bit. We're moving up on some low bottom tails. We like the bottom tails, exactly. We do. CPOP moving up on some low volume there. So CPOP price spike off low volume. So we got that going on right there. CPOP. We'll see what goes on there. Right now, though, has a price spike off of some low volume. So we shall see. Has a bit of a top tail going on there. DBL Moms has a bit of a top tail. We don't like the top tails. We like the bottom tails. Yes, sir. That's what we like right there. Yes, we do. We like them bottom tails. Let's see what else we got over here. Let's see. CIFR. All right. That's what we got going on. All right.
Make sure to join YouTube.
Yes, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we actually made two videos on stocks that started moving and grooving. We made a video last night on PEPG. All right, did the video on that last night. It ran up a nice 180%. OFAL did a video on that one this morning, and it ran up a nice 49%. We actually made these videos on our YouTube, so you can find us there at Coach Nick Money, So be sure to check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going. Let's get to 2,800. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 2,800. All right. Yeah, let's get that going on right there. Bop, right there. There we go. So, yeesh, that's what we got going on there. That is what we got going on. All right. Yeesh. So, CIFR currently still needs to break through that pennant right there. Needs to break through the pennant and the VWAPA. Needs to curl off that pennant and the VWAPA. CIFR needs to curl off the pennant and VWAPA. For it to be so much schmexy to meow. Bop, right there. So we got that going on. All right. Let's see what else we got. All right. CIFR is doing that. OFAL. OFAL. All right.
CPOP.
Oh, CPOP. What's CPOP doing? CPOP popped up. Oh, my.
It's doing, but it popped up.
Up, CPOP popped up. Oh, wait.
C-pop.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Is that like a K-pop? C-pop.
I think K-pop is apparently Korean music. I don't know.
It's a C-pop.
C-pop.
And drop.
The C-pop like Chinese
Yeah,
music?
pop.
Popped it, dropped. Okay, yep,
It's a
popped it,
pop
dropped.
fly.
Yep, pop fly. Yeesh, it is. It is a pop fly. All right, let's see. C-pop has a bit of a double top on the C-pop. Little double top on the C-pop. C-pop, can it curl? We shall see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen. Has some low volume, though, I'll tell you that. Has some low volume. We shall see what happens there. C-pop, there we go. All right, now. SPRC. All right. Ish. So we got that going on right there. All right. All right, so SPRC looks like it's curling off of this descending wedge right over here. Looks like it's trying to curl its way on up a little bit. We'll see what happens, though. Let's see. Let's make this smaller. Looks like it's trying to curl off that descending wedge. SPRC, SPRC. Let's see what we got going on here. SPRC, bop, right here. Trying to curl off the descending wedge. Yes, SPRC. Yes. It did break through VWAP as well. It did break through the VWAP. I will give it that. SPRC broke the VWAP as well. So, SPRC broke the VWAP. Yes. Yes. Good. Good. Very good. Very good. Jolly good. Alright. So, that's what we got going on there. Alright. So, let's see here. Let's see. Alright. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me just double check some stuff over here. Bop. Okay. Alright. Alright. So, yeah, that's what we got going on. Let's make sure we are still here. Are we still here? We still live? Making sure everything's good. Let's make sure everything's copacetic with the stream. Yes, it is. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 3,000. 3,000. Let's see what we got going on there. Alright. Make sure we're live and living color. Yes, sir. Alright. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay, good. We are all set there. So, SPRC curling off that descending wedge a little bit. Broke through the VWAP. So, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's what we got going on right there. Can it continue to curl? Maybe has to remain friends with the trend. Has to remain friends with that trend, SPRC. SPRC needs to remain friends with the trend. Yes. Alright. So. Yes. Curl, baby. Curl. Yes. Alright. There we go. Alright. So. That's what we got going on there. Let's get a share party going. Let's get the 3,100. 3,100. Let's get the 3,100, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Alright. Let's see here. Let's see here. What else we got? Alright. We got OFAL. OFAL. Let's see what they got going on right there. OFAL currently doing its thing. Broke that little downtrend there. Broke that little downtrend. I like that. That's good. That's good. It is still consolidating a little bit, but it broke that little downtrend there. Broke that downtrend. Is a bit consolidated, but it looks like but it has to remain friends with that trend right there. That's what it has to do. All right. All right. I like that. I like that. That's good. OFAL broke the downtrend, trying to curl. And we got about 4 minutes till the bell rings. We got 4 minutes till the bell rings. Not the bell on YouTube. Ring that bell icon, though. Be sure to ring that bell icon, just like the stonk bell's about to ring in 4 minutes. Ring that bell icon. Yes, sir. All right. So make sure you got that going on right there. All right. Let's get a share party going. Let's get the 3,300. 3,300. Let's get the 3,300, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So. That's what we got going on right there. That's what we got going on. OFAL currently curling off the downtrend. Can it continue? LAC. Let's see. Yeah, LAC. A lot of people talking about LAC. Let's take a look at LAC. All right, so LAC kind of consolidating off of that descending wedge that was made right there. So you got that going on. Let's see. Little bit of consolidation off the descending wedge. So you got that going on right there. Right, let's see. Yeesh. Fallen X says, I like the updates you guys have done to the Discord. Yeah, man. I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that, brother. I'm glad to hear you like it. Yeesh. We've been doing all sorts of good stuff there. We've been cooking, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, be sure to check out our 4-day trial for the real-time alerts and scanners. Only $9.99. Always updating it, ladies and gentlemen. We always setting it up to do wonderful things. Yes, sir. So yeah, thank you, Fallen. I'm glad you're happy, man. Glad you're happy. All right, let's see here. So let's see what we got going on. LAC. All right, currently consolidating off the descending wedge there. So it's consolidating a bit more. I mean, it's better than being on the downtrend, I suppose, but still, it is still consolidating. So we'll see what happens with the stonk. LAC, it is a very popular stonk, though. I will give it that. People were talking about it like crazy. People were talking about that one like crazy. Let's see what other stonks are being talked about here. Oh, okay, all right. CIFR and CAPR seem to be getting talked about as well. So I'll take a look at those two. CIFR, let's see what we got going on there. All right, we don't need that. All right, CIFR still needs to break that pennant. Still needs to break that pennant and that VWAP. So CIFR needs volume to break the pennant and the VWAPA. Yesh. So we got that going on right there. CIFR. Bob. There we go. All right. Next up is CAPR. CAPR. Let's see what they got going on. CAPR had a bit of an uptrend, now kind of sort of consolidating a little bit. So we're going to actually make a pennant over here. Has a bit of consolidation, so it is forming a bit of a pennant over here. 10 seconds to the bell. The bell. The bell. It deafens me. All right. All right. How many seconds we got to that bell? Oh, it's ringing. There it is. It rang. The bell rang. Yes, sir. All right. It's going to propagate, and then after that, it's going to continue doing its thing. CAPR. CAPR needs to break that pennant. CAPR needs to break the pennant. Yesh. A little bit of consolidation going on over there. Needs to break the pennant and curl. Yesh. Alright, so. Alright, these stonks over here. Yeah, those are just. Yeah, those are the repeat ones. Yeah, those that it's propagating. It's propagating. Yeah. Yeah, it's propagating. No worries. Yeah, it propagates. Needs to propagate. Needs to reset itself. I know, I got you. CYCU seems to have some movement going on there. Float is very heavy though, 60 million. Volume is 5 million. So very choppy on CYCU. CYCU needs volume, choppy movement. That's what we got going on. CYCU needs volume, choppy movement. Yeesh. We'll get some support and resistance lines there, though. We shall get some support and resistance lines. Bop. Let's get that over meow. Boom. And boom. Right over meow. Right there. So, you got that going on right there. Support is at 29 cents, 30 cents, 31, 32, 33, and 34. So, currently you got support at 31 cents. Actually, no, excuse me. 32 cents. And then you got to break through the 33-cent mark and the 34-cent mark for it to really be so much maxi to meow. So we'll see what happens there. CYCU, very choppy, very choppy. Let's take a look at PEPG. PEPG seems to be trying to curl off that descending wedge and test the VWAP. So we got that going on right there, curling a little bit of curlage. Let's see. Let's move this up over here. Bop. Yep, a little bit of curlage, trying to test that VWAP and see what happens right there. We'll see. We shall see. Bop right there. So let's take a look over here. PEPG curling off the descending wedge and testing the VWAPA. Yesh. Alright. PEPG testing that VWAP currently. WOK. Let's take a look at WOK. Alright, WOK. Alright. So, WOK had a bit of a double top over here. A little bit of a double top. Got that going on right there. Moved downward a little bit. Actually, hold on. Let me put this right over. Nope, not that one. That one. Yesh. Put this right over Mia. Can it break that descending wedge over there? Needs to break that VWAP as well. So WOK needs volume to curl. Needs to break the descending wedge with volume. So it needs some volume, ladies and gentlemen. WOK needs volume. Let's get a share party going. Let's get the 3,700. 3,700. Let's get the 3,700, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. All right. All right. All right. Yeesh. All right. Give me 1 second. Oof. Right there. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. So, needs to do that real quick. There we go. Has to hold above that 14-cent mark. Needs to break through 15 cents for it to be so much maxi tumya. So WOK, that's what it needs to do right there. Needs to do that. All right. Let's see. In the meantime, let's take a look at EVAX, EVAX. Let's see. EVAX. Trending downward. Not schmexy. Not schmexy at all. EVAX needs to break the downtrend there. EVAX needs to break that downtrend. EVAX needs to break the downtrend. Boom. There we go. So we'll see what goes on there with EVAX. Let's take a look at NUAI. NUAI. Oh, look at that. Curling upward. Nice, nice. Broke through the VWAP. A little bit of a double top, though. Has a bit of a double top right over here. Needs to break through that. The double top is at $1.13. Needs to break $1.13 for it to somewhat be schmexy to Mia. Let's get a support and resistance line over Mia. Boom. And boom. All right. Has that going on right there. Has that going on. All right. All right, so let's see what we got going on here. Let's see. All right. A to B, B to C, C to D. All right.
C-pop moving.
Ooh, C-pop moving. Okay. All right. Ooh, NUAI needs to break that double top. NUAI needs to remain friends with the trend. Now let's take a look at C-pop, see what C-pop's doing. C-pop, CPOP, CPOP. Let's get a share party going. Let's get a share party going. Share it up, share it up. All right, let me get the share, and let me get this refreshed over here for C-pop, C-pop, CPOP. Oh my, wow, moving up. Aggressive move upward. All right. CPOP moving up. There we go. CPOP moving on up aggressively. C-pop. Oh, yeah. Yes. C-pop. Has to. Yes, let's get a share party going. Let's get the 4,000. 4,000 right there. Yes. 4,000.
Y'all got you. Got it in ya. Let's go.
All right, let's get a share party going. Let's get the 4,000 people. Let's get the 4,000. Let's see what we got going on here. C-pop currently trying to climb its way back up still. Trying to remain friends with that trend. C-pop right now has a bit of a top tail going on. We don't like the top tails, DBL moms. We like the bottom tails. So, C-pop needs to remain friends with the trend right there. Yes, CPOP needs to remain friends with the trend. Yes. There we got. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yes. All right. So that's good. That's good. That's what we got going on right there. All right. Let's make sure that everything's okay and copacetic on the stream. Let's make sure. All right. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just make sure. Let me make sure. Yes. Okay. We're good. We're good. All right. All right. All right. All right. Good. Good. All right. So, Got that going on right there. SPRC, SPRC. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Currently, SPRC is curling up, still above the VWAP now. Fully, SPRC curled up past the VWAP. Loving it so far. It's moving its way on up there. I like that. All right, SPRC moving above the VWAP. Needs to remain friends with the trend. Yeesh. There we go. Right there. So, that's what you got going on there. That's what you got going on there. Let's get a share party going. Let's get the 4,100 up off that VWAP right now. Looks like it is a bit halted. I don't know if it's a halt going on SPRC, but right now it is currently stuck at 650. It doesn't look like it's moving right now. So we'll see what happens. It is leaning towards being a bit overbought in the RSI. That's the only thing I really have against it, and that's really not anything that I have against it. It's just more so just how it is. I hope it continues to move upward, though. So right now, SPRC looks like it's a bit halted. Is it halted? Do you think it's halted? It's halted. It's halted. Yeah. All right. So SPRC. Yep, little halted right now. Halted while on the uptrend. Yeesh. Halted while on the uptrend. So, we got that going on right there. SPRC halted while on the uptrend right now. Needs to remain friends with that uptrend right there for it to be so much maxi to me, but has to remain friends with the trend, ladies and gentlemen. Has to do that. Has to do that right there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see what's going on here. Somebody wrote EPOW. 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 Had a bit of a double top there. Not a lot of volume going on there. EPOW needs volume and also needs to break this pennant right here. That's really what it's got going on. Hold on. CPOP. How's CPOP doing? Yeesh.
Trying to do a higher day test.
Ooh, okay.
Needs to break $2.
Yeesh, needs to break $2. Okay, EPOW needs to break the pennant when needs volume. Yeesh. All right, let's see what we got going on here. CPOP, CPOP. All right. Ooh, okay. CPOP testing the resistance some more. Testing that resistance. CPOP. All right. CPOP testing the... Let's see what we got. EVAX. Let's see what they got going on. EVAX curling a little bit. Trying to curl off that descending wedge right there. EVAX. Let's see here. Boom. All right. EVAX needs to break that VWAP and curl. All right, VWAP curling off the descending wedge. Yeesh. So you got that going on right there. EVAX. Boom. There we go. Let's get this over here. Draw that for EVAX. Let's continue on. OFAL. Let's see what they're doing. Let's see how they're doing right there. Ooh, okay. Went back down a little bit. OFAL needs to try to curl its way on up right there. OFAL needs volume for a curl. Yeesh, needs volume for a curl. But right now, OFAL is in my opinion. Let's see what we got going on here.
SPRC resumption.
Oh, SPRC resumption. Let's see how it's doing. SPRC up, resumption, moving its way on up there. All right, still friends with the trend. SPRC resumption. Still friends with the trend. Yeesh. So, SPRC, excuse me, resumption Still friends with the trend right now, moving its way on up there pretty nicely. All right, let me get some support and resistance lines. Let me get some support and resistance lines as well, right over meow. All right, bop right there, and bop right there. SPRC breaking through the, oh my God, already breaking through it. How high is SPRC right now? Oh my. Nice. Nice. All right. SPRC currently testing the high again. SPRC broke through the first high. SPRC broke the high. Can it continue? Go, baby. Yes, go. NUAI. Let's take a look at NUAI. NUAI. Oh my. All right. Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right. Had a bit of an ABCD there. Another one. Okay. All right. A little bit. Bop. B. B to C. C to D. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. All right. NUAI just broke through the high. Okay. All right. There we go. How high is NUAI? SPRC is now up 89% as well. SPRC now up 89%. So you got that going on right there. NUAI testing the high. NUAI testing the high of day. Yeesh. So we got that going on right there. Testing the high of day. Can it break through?